Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at the update to the Majin or the Extreme Z area for the Majin Buu Saga. So we're going to take a look at the 3 new stages added. We're also going to take a look at the 3 new units that are receiving an EZA. Obviously it's Goku, Goten and Gohan as a part of the Goku, Gohan and Goten Day celebration. So of course, just remember you do need to complete 3 story events before this Extreme Z area will pop up. The Showdown, the most fearsome Majin Buu, and a turbulent start to the World Tournament. Once you have completed all 3 of those events, the event itself will open up and all of these stages will become available to you. We're going to take a look at stage 9, 10 and 11. 9 being for Goku, 10 for Gohan and 11 for Goten. We also obviously have a selection of limited units to utilize. We're going to be using only free to play units and we're going to use variations of the same team, but I'm going to show you a whole bunch of teams that work basically for each stage and give you advice on what to change. Now remember, as with most Extreme Z areas, path left on the first difficulty is for bronze medals, the right path for silver, and on the second difficulty gold on the left and rainbow on the right. Of course, remember there are 2 difficulties, one for 12 stamina and one for 25 stamina. Now Goku becomes a Otherworld Warrior's 77% lead. He also gets attack and defense of 158%. He disables enemy guard, he gains additional attack and has a high chance of evading enemy's attack from the 8th turn of battle. He also gains defense with each attack evaded as well. And also when there's an ally whose name includes Goten Kid, and he gains a whole bunch of additional stats. He's also a Goku's family category ally support, which is pretty much stock standard for most of these units as they EZA. So it's pretty straightforward, overall. So Goku looks pretty decent. I actually quite like his. Interestingly enough, he only gains the evasion after turns have passed, which is something quite interesting I think overall. Goku does stun, which is great for ESBR and SBR, but the fact that his evasion kicks in later is strange, but also interesting. Gohan's a lot more simpler a unit. He has attack and defense of 58% with an additional attack and defense of 58%, and the great chance of launching an additional super attack when there is a Goku's family category ally attacking in the same turn. So obviously designed for Goku's family again. He also gains an additional attack based on certain requirements. But overall, he's very simple, but I do like how simple he is and what he brings to the table. Then we have the youth category lead in the form of Goten. He is very similar to Goku in some ways. He greatly raises his defense, however, and he also gives all allies some crit chance, and overall just looks like he has a pretty interesting kit. I think, Gohan, or the Mystic Gohan, is a little bit less limited than Goten and Goku, but I think overall I probably like Goten the most, but we'll take a look at how they perform when we do a review of them. Now in terms of special missions, they're all pretty straightforward. Just complete each stage a total of 7 times. Doesn't matter on what difficulty. I've noticed they've reduced it from 10 to 7, which I think is good, considering sometimes you would have to redo a stage to get to 10, whereas I think 7 is something everyone will definitely hit. So I think that overall it is a bit better. In terms of the team build for this stage, it's pretty straightforward. You've got a lot of options nowadays in terms of leads and things you can utilize. So, you can only use units that you can buy from the Baba shop or units that you can get as currency drops. So that is something important to take note of. The best lead overall would be the Babidi and the Burra unit, because obviously they're 120% lead, and that would definitely help you out. But overall, the event itself is pretty straightforward. You can use any combination of units. There's a whole bunch of units that have recently EZA'd, and they're looking quite good. You've got the older EZA ones, so take your pick. But overall, there's a lot of options. I'm just going to show you guys generally what team I'm going to run. I'm just going to show you how it does on the different leads so you can get a good idea of the options. Obviously, if you're facing Goku, try and bring as many strength based units as you can. If you're facing Goten, try and bring as many AGL units as you can. And if you're facing Gohan, try and bring as many physical based units as you can. Of course, As I always suggest with people that are taking on the Majin Buu Saga Extreme Z area, especially this one because it's so big, like it's got so many units in it, that honestly it is quite daunting I think for a lot of players. I would highly suggest starting with the Showdown event, where you pick up Goku, where you pick up Hercule and Majin Buu, and where you pick up Oob. It's a very, very good starting point, not only because obviously it does help you out quite a bit, but also because Buu and Hercule are a Majin Buu Saga lead, and I think that is very, very helpful overall. It is something you're going to need, and unless you have the battlefield currency to afford Babidi and Dabura, then your next best bet is the Hercule and the Buu unit. So if you are like a brand new player and you really want to easy these units, or you're looking into easying some free to play units for the first time, I would suggest starting with the Ultimate Showdown event, picking up Hercule and Buu, and then easying them first. Their leader skill is going to help you out the most here. It's going to really make the whole event easier, like way easier. Whole event's going to run smoother, everything's going to run cleaner, and I just think it's going to make your life a lot easier. Now, of course, the next stage is against Mr. Gohan. So here you want to try and prioritize having physical units. You can pick up a unit like Oob, although he's honestly only really that good against Goku units. But you can pick him up to try and help you out. However, I would just mainly suggest dropping out any tech units if you do have them, because it is going to help you out or stop you being so hindered by them, maybe is the best way to say it. So 100% would say that you want to switch in physical units. Oob is an option, although honestly the trace is a little bit weak here. The tech options as well aren't necessarily the greatest, so I'm not too worried about people making errors here. So yeah, as I was saying, I would start with the Ultimate Showdown. Do that Hercule and Buu at the very least as an easy A. Possibly also the SS3 Goku, who I think is great and does some really strong damage. Then I would just work my way through it as best I can, grabbing what units I can, and just really working on it as best you can. I think that is the best policy. Now remember, when you are easying these units, it's very important that you understand exactly how many medals or how many different things you need when you are taking on the stage. You don't want to waste your time in overrunning or overreaching and getting medals that you don't need. You don't want to waste stamina, because it takes quite a lot of stamina to easy A these units. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to do to easy A these units. Like, you don't, like, it takes a lot of stamina regardless of what you do, because it is, you know, it's a very heavy stamina dependent event. So it's going to take a lot of runs. So when you are farming their medals, just keep in mind overall that you don't want to overrun. So frequently check your medals. Like I always say to people, alternate as well. Make sure that you alternate left and right. Question marks will appear, that will help you out. They'll give you bonus medals, but if you make sure that you alternate left and right, you should be more than fine. Remember that you need 15 bronze, you need 40 silver, and you need 30 gold and 30 rainbow. So you're going to want to make sure that you obviously have those medals, or pretty much those medals, before you go and try to, you know, easy A or anything like that. So I would highly suggest that you keep track of your medals. You can check them under your items section. You can check awakening medals there. But yeah, you need 15 bronze, 40 silver, and 30 gold, and 30 rainbow. It amounts to about 3 attempts per side. So 3 left-hand sided attempts, 3 right-hand sided attempts, barring any, you know, question marks that you get, and you have to do that twice per stage. So if you get unlucky and you don't get any question marks whatsoever, it's 150 stamina for the second stage, and it's 72 stamina for the first stage, which means in total it's 222 stamina per character, which means for most players it's about a day per character, unless you get lucky with a level up or you use meat or something like that. Obviously it's, yeah, it's pretty roughly around about there. So it is going to keep you busy for quite a while. Obviously keep that in mind, and if you have to easy A any other units just to obviously take on the area, then that's also going to be a bit of a problem for you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip a little bit ahead in time to where I've got all the units level 130. I've easy-aid them up to level 130. As I always suggest, work on your units as you go along. It's only going to make your life easier. So start with Goku, get Goku to level 130, then move on to Mystic Gohan's one, so you can do Mystic Gohan, then finish Mystic Gohan, and then start Goten. All these little things do help you out, and having all the units at level 130 does obviously make things easier because they do get progressively better. So start with that, start with working on Goku, then working on Goten, then working on Mystic Gohan, or alternatively work on Goten, work on Goku, then work on Mystic Gohan. It doesn't really matter too much what order you go in, although I do think at least starting with Goten will be pretty decent, since Goten is type neutral to both, so he'll help you out in both stages, rather than Goku, who will help you out a lot in the Mystic Gohan stage, or vice versa, Mystic Gohan, who isn't really going to help you out against either typing. So I would definitely start with Goten, then move on to Goku, or alternatively do Goku, then Mystic Gohan, and then Goten last, since you don't want to go from having type neutral to type disadvantage. But overall, honestly, these Extreme Z areas are very helpful. We'll assess all 3 units at a rainbow level as free-to-play units in separate videos, but I think overall they all look pretty decent. I like that they all have Goku's family support as part of their kit. I think it just makes them malleable on most of their teams. Obviously, Goten and Goku more specifically require to have specifically a Goten or Goku unit on the team or in the turn, which I think does hinder them slightly, whereas I think Mr. Gohan is a lot simpler. He just requires a Goku's family unit. I think that actually makes him just more easier to use overall. So yeah, in general, pretty straightforward. Like I said, I think for the most part, I would say that obviously the most important thing, other than the medals and everything, is just remember that you do need to farm certain numbers of these units. So when you EZA these units, you're going to need a couple copies of them. So when you are farming them from the events, make sure that you farm 10 base copies. This is very, very important, because those 10 base copies are going to be your first unit at 100, well, at SA10. Then what you want to do is you want to obviously make sure that you get your 4 copies for their hidden potential system, and then what you want to do is you want to obviously make sure that you get a second copy of the unit to 5 SA overall, so when they do eventually EZA, you can take them from SA10 to SA15. Now, you don't have to invest hidden potential orbs into your units. I obviously place hidden potential orbs into my units because I have to, well, not have to, but I enjoy doing reviews on them. I think obviously the stats do help out free-to-play units quite a lot. I would highly suggest at least putting equipment on them. If you're not going to put the hidden potential system up, then rather put some equipment on them, even if it's just dodge or extra health or anything like that. Maybe it's not valuable equipment, maybe you're literally just shoving health on your units. You can put whatever you want on them, but I think that if you at least put some equipment on them, then overall you're going to have a bit of a better time. Because, you know, these events are quite challenging in a sense for people to catch up with. So if you've been EZAing the units from the very beginning, from when the Majin Buu Saga Extreme Z area first started and first came out, then you're going to have tons of EZA'd units, and you probably have battlefield currency units, and you have a whole bunch of variety of leads and things like that. As you can see here, yeah, you can do it all under a Hercule lead. I'm doing all of these stages under a Hercule lead so that you guys can see it's possible. But it is, like I say, it is very, very difficult to start this from the beginning. So maybe you're someone who's trying to cut to it, you're trying to really just jump to this stage, you just want Goten, or maybe you just want Goku, maybe you just want this one or that one. I understand, but the point is if you are going to do that, then you need to compensate for your lack of EZAs or your lack of rainbow stats by at least placing gear. Now, gear is not necessarily the absolute hardest thing to come by. Most players can at least get some decent gear just from doing stuff like the you know, explosive chain battle and things like that. If you haven't done any of that, Then there is this very special Goku family gear event that is currently up. I will be covering it in another video, but essentially you can get a whole bunch of gear from there that you are welcome to place on your units if you want to. So that does help out a little bit as well, obviously, but it's just gonna entirely depend on you guys, what you guys function with, what you guys do. And yeah, you're just gonna have to basically keep an eye out for it and just make sure that you do your best, put on what gear you can, and yeah, just really try and give yourself whatever advantage you can without spending a large amount of resources if you don't want to, invest in the hidden potential system. So we're taking on the final stage against Goten. Like I said, guys, you really just need to keep in mind what side of the map you need to go on, whether you need to go left or right, and you should hopefully get lucky enough with question marks that you don't have such a big problem running the stage or doing anything like that. Obviously it is a little bit of a grind, but it should be relatively easy. You shouldn't really have too much of a problem, so hopefully you guys don't have that many issues. But yeah, the stage is really just going to be dependent on how much time and effort you put into things, because the free-to-play units can make life a lot easier, but it's also going to depend. Listen, I'm not going to say whether people consider it worth it or not. I personally like free-to-play units because it helps me really fill out my box. It helps me really just do a whole bunch of different things, and I think that is very helpful for players, especially event free-to-play units, because I feel like they overall are a lot easier for people to get and people do understand them to some extent, whereas I think stuff like prime battles or friend summon LRs are more difficult to get overall, just because there's a lot of processes and procedures that you need to do to get them. You summon on this banner and pull this guy and do these missions and get this and buy from the barber shop. These guys are a lot more straightforward, and so it makes them a lot easier to get. But yeah, so that is Goten done, and that is all of them done. Just remember that you need 30 gold and 30 rainbow medals, so you do need to do 3 times on each side if you don't get lucky with a question mark. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As you could see, we did all the stages with fully free-to-play teams, no battlefield shop units either, and all of them under a Hercule and Buu lead. So like I said, all you need really is the Hercule and Buu. Obviously, I'm gonna go finish the grind and then I will get back to everything. Just a reminder that you can find the Goku, Gohan and Goten units under this event here, the Resurrected Majin Buu event, the Most Fearsome Majin, and you get chocolates from stage 5 and you trade those chocolates in at the barber shop. Trading them in at the barber shop is how you buy these units, and that's going to be where you need to buy them. Now in total, as I said before, you need to buy 19 copies of these units if you are looking to EZA them and get them to SA 15. So just remember that you need to do that, and you can find them in the barber shop. But that is pretty much going to be it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, you can leave a like on the video, or you can leave a comment down below if you need any more help. But that's going to be it from me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye.